Thank you so much for coming this afternoon. My name is Melanie Goodfellow, and I am the Senior International Correspondent for Dedline. And it gives me great pleasure to moderate this panel, which is titled Against Propaganda, How the Academy Awards Can Help Independent Filmmakers. It's been organized by the Independent Iranian Filmmakers Association, IFMA, in association with the EFM. Joining me on the stage, so to my far left, we have Simon Baoumen, who is the director of German films, who played a role in Iranian director Mohammad Rasulov's movie, The Seed of the Sacred Fig, being put forward as Germany's entry to the Best International Film category this year. And it's now one of five films which is nominated, which is very exciting. And I actually only just saw it this weekend before I came, and it's such a powerful movie, so fingers crossed. To Simone's right, we've got Zar Amir Abrahimi, who is the one Best Actress in Cannes for Holy Spider, which was Denmark's entry, in fact. And then you're also in Shader, which was Australia's entry. So you have had experience of the Oscar campaigns, but not for Iran, unfortunately. And then your more recent roles, we saw you in The Vanishing, which was a very exciting a movie, and then also Tatami, which you co-directed with Guy Nativ, who's a lovely, very talented director. Also, you play a very big role in trying to raising awareness about the situation in Iran and the situation for filmmakers, and you're an activist on that front too. And then to my immediate left, I have, not last but not least, Mehshid Zamani is a film critic and researcher, and you're based in California, but you were based in Iran, and you worked on cinema publications, and now you're doing research, but you also work for Voice of America and BBC about in other Persian services. So, and you're also a very active member of IFMA and organising all sorts of events, and I think everybody in the Iranian film community appreciates that. So the basis for this discussion is, I think we all know, but the fact that Iranian directors who are not in tune with the current regime, they're not going to be able to show their films legally in Iran, let alone represent their country at the Oscars. It's a very pertinent time to be having this discussion because we've just learned that Marian Moghadam and Bitash Sineha, whose film My Favorite Cake was here in Berlin last year. Unfortunately, they couldn't come. We've been hearing reports that they've come under fresh political persecution, receiving death threats in recent days. So it's a very pertinent discussion to be having now. I'm going to hand over to Mehshid, who's going to give like an overview of what the situation is for filmmakers in Iran when they want to get funding and show their films, and just sort of talk about that. Yeah.
Thank you, Melanie. Thank you, everybody, for being here. It's important to talk about how things work in Iran in order to have this conversation. So everything when it comes to countries like Iran can be political, but I want to make it clear, this is not necessarily a political conversation. This is about inclusivity and equity. And I'm going to tell you why. So in Iran, every film, in order to be made, needs an approval for the script first. So that's the first step. It goes through a committee for getting the script approved. After that, the film has to be approved in terms of being produced. So needs a production permit too. And when the film is, after the film is produced and is final, they need to get a screening permit. And that's when we realize the flaws in the system of the Academy for accepting films as the entry. So in order to get that permit for the screening, obviously you need to follow the rules that are imposed by Ministry of Culture and Islamic Guidance. To me, the name of this organization speaks volume. So we know what kind of rules is going to be imposed. The rules are not limited to basically criticizing the government being forbidden, criticizing any kind of religious subjects to be forbidden, but it actually applies to the daily life of the people. So this censorship applies to the portrait of the daily life of Iranian people. You cannot have a real image. Why? Because we are having a government that is basically, I have to use this, right? It's a gender apartheid regime. And you have women on the screen that have to be covered according to Islamic rules, according to the guidance that is created and imposed by this Ministry of Culture. So you cannot have women on the screen, even in their bedrooms, not being covered. You cannot have women dancing. You cannot have women singing. So there are various reasons for a film not to get the permit, and many of them are not political reasons necessarily. So I want to refer back to your point about my favorite cake. So my favorite cake is not a political film. It's just showing the reality life of a middle-aged couple or a woman as the central character. And the film yet wasn't screened in Iran. Never would. Why? Because the woman is not covered, because the woman is dancing, because they are drinking on the screen. So a kind of film that are not even political cannot be submitted as the entry to Oscar. Why? Because they never got the chance to be screened. But this is not all the story. Sometimes you get the screening permit, and right before the premiere, hardliners are going to publish an article, and then the permit is going to be revoked. So I guess one of the most famous example of this is the film Banu, The Lady, by the late Dariush Mehjui, that exactly the night before of the premiere of the film, the filmmaker receives a phone call that we are sorry, the permit was revoked. So the film was not released till 9 years later, and that is when they say you need to basically go through more censorship. So even 9 years later, the film is not the film it was before. So my point is the Academy has to review this process when it comes to countries like Iran. And in case of Iran, we are not talking about autocracy, we are talking about theocracy. So there are so many rules that filmmakers can follow and have to follow. And if they navigate their ways, there's a chance that their films still don't see the screen.
But Iran has a really illustrious track record with terms of the Oscars. You know, Asghar Farhadi, A Separation, The Salesman won Oscars. I mean, you nearly had a better track record than France until recently, until last year. Well, so I mean, what are you complaining about?
First of all, I mean, it's great that when we have an entry from a country, the country is winning, right? That's the beauty of this award. So as Iranians, I bet we are all honored. And Asghar Farhadi is a fantastic filmmaker, so that's a bonus here. But we need to realize that now we are living in the era that we call it post-woman life freedom movement. Things have changed in Iran. Before woman life freedom movement, as you mentioned, people like Farhadi, talented filmmakers, they would navigate their ways to open the door, to pave more ways in order, to be able to make good films while they are trying to comply as much as possible with the rules in Iran. Before this movement, we had very few films that were made underground, very, very few, or even in diaspora, But after this revolution, things have changed culturally, socially, in Iran, out of Iran, politically. Even Farhadi himself, we have a quote, right? He said I guess it was last year, if I'm not wrong, he said he wouldn't make any films with women covering their hair anymore. So things are changing. And again, I want to emphasize the reality of life in Iran has changed drastically too. So the films that are following the rules imposed by censorship is not acceptable anymore. So that's the main reason for this conversation, because it's been 2.5 years that we have this resistance movement happening in Iran, leading by Iranian women who refuse to comply with the rules that are absolutely discrimination against women.
So Zahra, you became a member of the Academy in 2023. So I'd really love to know your perspective. Now I know you can't talk about the inner workings of the Academy, but sort of if you can sort of give us some ideas about what you're seeing there and what your feelings are about the situation now.
Yeah, you know, some members are not really active, but I'm one of those active members. So I'm also active in two special committees, international, the head of international committees, and another branch which is about Middle Eastern members and Middle Eastern cinema. So yeah, more or less we talk about all these problems, everyone is aware, and I know the Academy, they know there is a problem and they want to find a way, but yeah, as you said, I can't really give you details about discussions in all these meetings, but in this international head of international committee, we had a just meeting to just propose and such as new Iranian generation filmmakers or Lebanese or Palestinians or, you know, all these countries that are not really considered, never actually, and they are not supported by anyone. And this is where I just try to make them understand that yes, but we have to be really, really be careful too when we suggest someone or when we get a suggestion as the Academy, and we need really to do this research if these people are the right people, because sometimes the countries and people already member of Academy who are part of this propaganda, they suggest some other people who are connected to this propaganda. And I've been told that, no, this doesn't happen, and we always search and we always check the background. But then I just came, I left the meeting and then I searched and I saw, oh no, there are still filmmakers who are really from this propaganda related to the government, you know. So I think there is this kind of errors, but at the same time, they need to be politically correct, because how can they search for someone? How can they check backgrounds, you know, when they don't live in a country like Iran? And it's so complicated. You can have a good movie from a filmmaker who is not really independent. You know, how can they say this filmmaker is not independent? And then if they do, like, if we consider Mohammad Rasulov as a German film, you know, as a German submission now entry to Oscar, and or my Danish movie Holly Spider, but how can we say, you know, I was just suggesting that we need to see all these people under pressure actually in their own country, because it's not only about diasporas. It's also about all these people in Iran, for example, that they do underground movies and no one suggests them. And the answer was kind of yes, but then if someone who is not really under pressure says that I am under pressure, I have to be considered as this under pressure filmmakers. How can we just check the background, you know? And then so maybe 100 filmmakers, they just come up and they say, we are under pressure, you know. And what is the pressure?
Even for us as journalists, sometimes when we hear stories, it's so hard for us to verify. It's getting easy now because of things like IFMA, but like when we used to hear stories about people being arrested in Iran, we didn't have a way to find out or figure these things out. But it's hard for everybody. Like, you know, you have filmmakers at risk, that organization, that's kind of what they do. Maybe they need a sort of similar thing.
Yeah, I think they do. They try. There are meetings, and this is a discussion really in move, and people not only, not only us as a Middle Eastern filmmaker. I know people from India, filmmakers who are really trying to find a way, a solution. And I just understand that it's so complicated. But maybe, you know, what we can do today here, or what you as journalists and as, you know, critics can do is just like coming up with new ideas, just proposing ideas. And maybe this led members of Academy to discuss it in next, you know, in their next meeting. Really, I think they consider it and they want to change things. They need to change rules, I think.
Simone, can you talk about the whole process of getting Mohammed's film as the entry for Germany, and what was the thinking behind it? Can you just sort of talk us through?
As German Films, we are the promotion agency of German cinema abroad. So we are a national advisory company board. We are working with all festivals and markets, and we also are the partner of the Academy. So we are responsible for the German entry to the Oscar race. So we are working very transparent. Every year, like in summer, we have a call for all producers and sales agents to submit their films for the German Oscar jury viewing. And first of all, the first thing what we are doing is to check if all the films submitted are responding to the Academy regulations, because it's the Academy doing the rules. So it means for international feature, for example, it shouldn't be in English, can be any other language. It should not be German as well, so that's very important. Also, according to the theatrical release, there is a certain window when the film should be released theatrically, but it can be in any other country. It shouldn't be Germany as well. Outside of it means an release outside the US. So and so on and so on. So there is a point system. So we are checking all the films submitting according to that point system. And to qualify as a majority German film, the film has to be financed majority-wise out of Germany. So means more than 50% of the budget has to come out of Germany. And also a big part of the creative team at least has to have a residency in Germany, means they are paying taxes in Germany. And so these are basically the regulations is a little bit more detailed, but I think you understand, So we are checking all the submissions, and if we see that the films are submitted according that, so we allow them to go for the screening with the jury. Then every year we have a jury of 9 people. They are from different German unions. It's the Film Academy. They have 2 people there. It's the Union of Directors. It's the Union of Film Critics. It's the cinemas, the theatrical distributors. So all these different units, they can nominate 1 member and the second one. And also these people have to be checked that they have no relation to the films we are going to decide about. There should be always a second person if somebody gets sick, and so on and so on. And then we have 2 days or 3 days in the cinema. For last year, we had 9 submissions, including Mohammad Rasoulov's movie. So they have to watch all the 9 films, and then they discuss. So we have a discussion, and finally, there should be a final decision. And since they are 9, it will always be 5-4. Or 9-0, it doesn't matter. There's always a majority decision. And then after, the Academy again is proving the movie, the whole procedure, if it was according to the regulations, and so on and so on. That's a crucial thing. And coming to why they decided for this film, I cannot give the details because it should be with the jury, but it's really, what is the German submission for an Oscar? We want to win the Oscar. We want to get to the shortlist. We want to get to the nominations. So the task for the jury is actually not to select the best German film in terms of what the jury is thinking is the best German film. So it's not the German Lola Academy Award, but it's for an American award. So we selecting a film what is in a run for an American award, what is called the Oscar. And there are many arguments. And first of all, the quality of the film. The quality of the film is the first one. That's the most important one. Then festivals. Have been there big festivals. Did the film win an award or not? It was Cannes competition. Got a special jury mention. The film did many festivals after. Who's the sales agents? Who's the American partner? And that case Neon is in touch, And these are all arguments who are playing a role in the final decision. And then they vote, and there is the result. And they really decided for Mohammad's film. So it was taking in account all these arguments. It was from an artistic point of view and also content. it was, from the point of view of the jury, it was the best film to go for Germany. Even it's in Farsi, it's taking place in Iran. It doesn't have anything to do with Germany at all, and so on and so on. But still, this was the film the jury thought had the best chances to succeed in an Oscar race. And now we are in the nominations.
You probably can't answer this question because you can't give the reasons, but do you think, obviously the film is, as you say, had an international career, is a brilliant film. Do you think there was also a sense within the German film community, you're talking about supporting all the diverse community of filmmakers working in Germany, like a political sense of solidarity for Iranian filmmakers, or that wasn't really, do you think that really wasn't kind of an aspect in the decision?
No, this is also an aspect. You know, it's a respect. It's also respect for the filmmaker to make a movie under that conditions and to make a great movie under these conditions in a not liberal context, with pressure, with almost being in prison, dangerous, and a great film, and with a big message, a universal, a human message. You know, this is something what they also recognize. But first of all, it's the quality of the film. You know, that's the first one. And of course, also who are the filmmakers, who is behind the film. This plays a role as well. Yeah.
So, like, sort of, Mohammed had the good fortune that the German Academy chose the movie. You had some experience, I think. You were telling us just before we started with Tatami. Can you talk about that a little?
And just one last thing I wanted to admit: Mohammed was in Germany before. He has a permanent residence in Germany since 2012. So he had a residence program, and then he stayed, you know. So that's
there's a strong connection.
It's not just shortly that he was in Germany. So also, it played also a role.
That's a rule to be German, or
not a rule, but you know, it's a person who is based in Germany. As I said, has the residency in Germany. That's crucial. Yes.
Yeah, Tatami was, you know, Tatami is an American production, basically. But then we shot in Georgia, and it was, and the Georgian production was almost only production service. And so my co-director is an Israeli director who lives in US. I am Iranian, French, living in Paris. So there was no Israel, no Iran in this movie. The language is 80% Persian. And this American production didn't want to share it with Georgian production in the beginning. And that was we told them it's better to be in co-production, and they didn't want to share it. And then little by little they found out it's going to be a good movie. And they they started to change things, and we became it became kind of Georgian American co-production. And then Georgia decided to, they decided to send another movie, but it was really, I think it makes sense because they were not really involved from the beginning in the process of all these discussions to have a Georgian movie. That's why I'm saying that we need some new rules, because only to be able to submit this movie to the Oscar and being seen, we needed to do this co-production while the movie is almost an Iranian movie, an Iranian-Israeli movie, but kind of diaspora movie. And no matter if it's an American movie. And so we're gonna try next year, but as an American movie to be in the race. We never can be considered as a foreign language movie.
If I may add something to that, of course there is an issue with filmmakers under risk and also in emigration, you know. Even if you find a country what is financing and has the majority part, the IP will be with that country and this producer, you know. If you get most of your budget out of Poland or most of your budget out of Belgium, it will be a Polish or Belgian, whatever movie, but never an Iranian one. And also I see we are working a lot with Eastern Europe. There is the Belarusian Film Academy in emigration. So we are well connected with them. All these filmmakers had to leave the country because of Lukashenko. They are doing their films now in Europe with Lithuania, Poland, and so on. And they have no chance also to go to an Oscar or whatever. And they asked me, actually, can we apply as the Belarusian Film Academy in emigration to be a partner of the Oscar Academy, for example, and then we can go from Belarus to submit the films, you know. So there is an issue. There is something to discuss with the Academy. So I didn't want to say there's nothing to discuss. I just wanted to support that, you know. But by the regulations, how they are right now, the way we went with Germany and Mohammed's film, it's the only one. So it's clearly a German film by budget and by the parts of the creatives in terms of residency, not by language and culture, you know. This is not the same, but this is how the criteria are working.
So you were suggesting like a kind of a refugee category, like exactly like the one we see in the Olympics. I suppose the thing about the one in the Olympics is that it's made up of all these different people from different nations, but they all get their moment in the sun. Like they all get to be in a tournament. And if you had a refugee category, there'd still only be one film that would get to go and compete. So it's not a perfect way of dealing with it. It's a really good idea, and I think people have often there's something like for 10 years now people have been suggesting that. You were suggesting that there's just a separate entry from Iran that's accepted. I don't know.
No, as Zar mentioned, this is just perhaps the beginning of a conversation, you know, and I guess I have to use this word to make sure we all understand. And that is, to me, right now, what's happening with the Academy is they are complicit with the governments such as Iran. And if they don't want to be considered complicit, they definitely need to review this process and change it. So the idea I was talking to you about was, okay, you have all of these members of Academy that you send the films to and they select. You can use the same model for countries like Iran, and I just say Iran because I don't want to, I want to be mindful about mentioning other countries. But you can have unbiased selection committee, you know, or whatever number they feel that it fits, and it's by the rules that they have. At the end, we need to realize that, as Simone was mentioning, the Oscars is an American award. The international category was added recently, relatively, right? I mean, almost 40 years later. So, and it has even the name has changed. I guess 3 times now, right? 3 times the name of the category has changed. So the process can change too. Nothing is written on the stone, right? Sometimes you feel like things are done in an old-fashioned way and not being thought through, I think. So the suggestion, maybe we can propose that, okay, you can have an unbiased selection committee, that they receive films from Iran, from outside of Iran, by Iranian filmmakers that can include Tatami or films like that. And then also, as I said, we want to be inclusive. We are not talking, we are not trying to be another Iranian government here saying that only opposition films have the right to be the entry from Iran representing our country. We are saying, okay, you can receive films from the films that are made in Iran, got the permit, were screened in Iran, as well as films that were not made in Iran or were made in Iran underground, such as My Favorite Cake. I'm not a member of Academy. I don't know the rules exactly, but I know the rules are there to be bent when it's necessary. And this is about human rights. This is about human principle. And it's what really bothers me, let me just get it personal a little bit here, is the fact that there is no relationship between United States and Iran, right? And with all of the sanctions happening against Iran, you're starving people in Iran. But when it comes to accepting films, suddenly you have a relationship with this entity that is ruled by the government. Then look at the name of it. Ministry of Culture and Islamic Guidance. You are accepting films from this entity and you think this is inclusive? You think it's okay? You are not allowing medications to go to certain countries when you have sanctions. So I'm sorry, I don't want to be political here, and I live in California, so I consider myself American too. But the point is, this is hypocriticism to me. You cannot just continue doing it based on the fact that it's complicated. Life is complicated. People are giving their life to change all of these things. So the minimum the Academy can do is just review and come up with a new due process. That's my point. I mean, I guess I rest my case.
So you joined in 2023, and there has been this like real push by the Academy, because I think they've realized the film world's becoming much more international and not so Hollywood centric. Do you feel like there's kind of maybe a wind of change, or the fact that people like you becoming members?
Yeah, and I see more and more we have international members. I think Janet, who's the head of Akademi, she's an amazing lady. She really believes in diversity. She tries to make it more and more diverse. You know, they added this casting directors award. You know, they're changing things. I spoke with her herself about all these problems, and I know she's aware and she wants to change some stuff. But as I said, it's complicated, and I think too many members are there. They have to, then give their opinions, and too many countries and peers under pressure. And I understand when I hear that, what is exactly pressure? What should we consider as pressure when we say filmmakers under pressure? Or under what? Anything, who is considered as that filmmaker? So that's why I think we need to brainstorm to find a way to propose some changes. How can we change this?
I mean, may I add something? I mean, under pressure, everybody is. Right? I mean, when you have all of these rules that women cannot sing, cannot dance on the screen, cannot be uncovered, and this is under pressure. Everybody is under pressure.
Let me say it in another way. Who decide which of all those underground movies have been done in Iran last year? Who should decide which one is considered as Iranian submission?
Yeah. That's the whole point. I mean, I think as Simone was said, that was a great example. The selection committee, you guys have 9 members. There are certain models that can be followed. They receive tons of films, right? But they know how to shortlist that. So the Academy, I think they can do the due diligence and just make sure things are verified. But my point is, any films should get the chance to be submitted to the number of people in a committee, let's say 30 people, right? Unbiased people, not people from Iranian government, not people even from only opposition. Everybody should have a say here, and not even Iranians only, right? So the films get submitted, and again, I go back to what Simone said. The artistic value of the film comes first, right? So first, let's see how many of these films have the quality, and then we can go back and verify if any verification is needed. So I want to emphasize that this is not about excluding any films based on the fact that certain filmmakers has certain background, or the other way around. I mean, yes, humanitarian aspect of exception, like, again, Rasulov's film, is very, very important. The filmmaker we know was in prison, was, threatened, all of these things. But at the same time, if the film was not a quality film, wouldn't be here. So the reverse side of it is the same, right? A film that is not based on humanitarian, but it is a good film, can be considered, right? So we don't want to be like them. That's what I'm saying.
I think there must be a committee. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
We need a new committee.
New committee.
And with international members.
Mm-hmm. That
maybe from all these countries, problematic countries, to check the as you say, to watch the movies, and maybe that's the solution. I'm not sure if they
a multi-nation, so not just Iranians picking their movie, but like
no,
a committee.
Iranians, Afghans, all these, but more diverse, you know. Africans, all these countries, China, you know,
Russia.
the example, Russia.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I agree with her. I think the committee should be as biased as possible, as diverse as possible. And we have a great example here. I mean, it's okay sometimes not to reinvent the wheel and just follow what they are doing.
I was about to say.
We have an answer here already, and I don't know why Americans cannot do the same thing. You know, again, all of us, we understand this is an American award, but it's too prestigious to be disregarded by international filmmakers, you know, because it's a life-changing award. No one can just, you know, say that, okay, it's an American award, so I go to Berlinale, I go to Cannes, who cares? People care. And independent filmmakers need more than anybody else these kind of exposures, as we all know, and coming up with campaign money. I mean, at the end, this is an award that was created by Hollywood, by a capitalist society. We understand money matters, but we have seen films that found a way and made it big, and the life of the director changed.
Of course, if we are talking about filmmakers under pressure or an emigration who are not going to be nominated from a certain country, that's a challenge to find a solution for that. But I would also vote for it, you know, to think it's important. It's important. And maybe to do it internationally. But you are right, you have to define what is the filmmaker under risk or under pressure, what kind of people, what kind of projects are we accepting. I think one important issue would be also the state financing, you know, or even financing from certain wealthy people or oligarchs. You know, you should always follow the money. So look into the financing of the films. I mean, it's not a problem in Iran. I know that most of the independent ones, they do it with their own money or with little money. Even they get particular maybe a permission. It's not state funded, you know. So, but in other countries it might be, you know. So there are some other issues we have to think about.
I guess, yeah, they're very good points, and you know, I guess it means doesn't mean you don't do it, but it does sound very complicated. And how do you do it?
It is complicated, but it's possible. We just need to care enough to change it. The problem is, again, I don't want to be too political, but the problem is sometimes you feel like people don't want to change things because change is difficult, right? I mean, it comes to so many social issues these days that we talk about, and people don't want to change it because it's difficult to change, but it's possible to change. So the Academy needs to put more effort. If they really care, and if they are about artistic vision, and if they are about equity, and if they are about, you know, they just need to put the effort, and the solution finds its way. There are a couple of examples, and we need to do more brainstorming. I wish one of them were here. I mean, you and I were talking about it. It would be great to have a member of, somebody at the decision-making level to be here, but they never responded, and I want to make this clear here. We have been writing to them for 2 years. Not even single line we received, okay? So, and we have been sending emails to their PR, to their communication, to every single email addresses we found on the internet, through friends, not even one single line, right? So
maybe it's the wrong way to approach it. You know, maybe we have to approach it from all these committees, different diverse committees, that they have access to the head of Academy to discuss it in the meetings. And I think I totally agree. I'm defending in a way because I know they're thinking about all these changes, but you're right. I see. I've been talking about this problem since, I don't know, from 2 years, 3 years ago, the first day I became member. And I think it takes long time. Now it took really long time. I mean, every time they say, we are thinking, we are talking, we are trying to find a way. And we have to push them to make the decision, to find a solution. Maybe we have to go for a petition and ask. I know there are many other filmmakers as us in the same situation, and they want this change.
Absolutely. I mean, I was even thinking about doing some campaign during the Academy Award, I mean, on March 2nd. There are things we can do to grab their attention. As you know, that, I mean, you just said it, they are aware of the issue. So the only thing is to push for the change as much as possible. And based on my experience living in the United States, change don't happen easily at all, you know. But this is a change that is not that difficult. And I hope next time anybody, either IFMA or whoever does panels like this, they are going to get a chance to have a representative from their side to hear their stories too, because sometimes you feel like it's a one-sided story, and it's not fair.
Yeah, no, it'd be nice for them to have a right to reply as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Just give their points, this is something that I just want to emphasize over and over. Though the whole world is trying, I'm sorry, but I'm going to say it, trying to ignore the fact that 2.5 years has been passed since Women Life Freedom Movement. But that happened, and the life of millions of people changed because of that, and the world cannot ignore that. Neither can Academy. At least we are here not to allow that, right? So let's just make sure we don't allow that.
Does anybody want to ask a question to the panel? Do we have any mics on the floor? Thank you.
Hello, everyone, and thank you. I have a question from actually you, because you're representing IFMA, right? Can it be possible that IFMA itself won't be as a gatekeeper? I know that there are people inside Iran going through the Islamic Republic, ارشد, the Ministry of Guidance, but there are a lot other independent filmmakers who might not go through IFMA. And if like a group of oppositions here outside of Iran act as a group themselves, as a film production, producing their own film, but also representing all the independent filmmakers, that's also has got its own dangers. You know, what I'm trying to say is that keeping independence is a very difficult process. And getting into the same trap of making a mafia out of the independent society can also happen. So each one of these people, I mean, each one of us has to be so careful and observant about what's going on. I mean, my question is, how can we avoid this?
I guess I made it clear that we don't want to create another government within the government, right? So IFMA is not here to say that, hey, we are the only representative of true Iranian independent filmmakers. Not, and but in Iran, we never had a true union, right? We never did. And independent filmmakers are truly vulnerable when it comes to societies like Iran, right? So they need representations, they need union, they need people to support them. And I suggest you to make sure we are not going through, I mean, we are not falling to the trap that most people fall into. Do our due diligence. Just make sure we have a diverse group of people. So we are not here to hijack Iranian independent filmmaking, right? We are here to support them. And we are a group of people who are trying to make sure we can verify what Zar was just saying what you were referring, what Simone was referring. Financing of the film, who is going through money laundry path, who is truly independent, is difficult. But we are trying to do that as much as possible. We are not perfect, but I promise you, we are not here to hijack anything or confiscate or, say that, oh, we are the only representative of Iranian filmmakers. But we try our best. And even for when it comes to Academy, I said it clearly. We are not saying IFMA should take over of this. We are saying a selection committee, as diverse as possible, should do that.
Just to wrap up, I think it's been a very, very interesting discussion. I'm fascinated by this. And I think it's great that, Zara, you're in the Academy. And I also really appreciated about what you were saying about the Academy not being closed to diversity. They're not like kind of the devil in the corner. I think it's just about lobbying and discussing and pushing. And I think you've made a lot of interesting points here. So let's hope. I mean, we've got a Rasilov's film this year, which is so exciting. But let's hope maybe next year you'll have your own candidate. Your own category.
It's been an honor to be here, share the stage with all of you. And I think this is the start of the conversation, and let's just make sure we can change things. And this doesn't happen unless we all try our best. And it doesn't happen by just one group of people. It happens by the effort collectively. So each of us matters. So I just want to say, whatever it takes for you, if you care enough, do it. Don't wait for anybody else to do it. Just do it. If you have to write to the Academy yourself, do it. If you have to do whatever it takes, and don't rely on us, on Zar to represent Iranians in Academy, because she's just one person. So it matters. I mean, we should just make sure we hold each other's hand in order to change things.
We're probably going to wrap up, I think, but we just did you want to make a comment before we wrap?
You're right, but I think now at this point it's necessary to get together, to be together, to push it together. Because if you write Academy and they don't answer you, and if they don't even maybe don't see it, it goes to spam. I don't know, Yeah.
So I received the
we
auto
need a
reply.
loud voice.
I'm sorry, it didn't go to spam. I received the auto reply, so I know they received it.
Yeah, but you get my point.
Yeah, no, I know.
We really need a loud.
Absolutely.
We're going to have to do an action. I'm not sure what that's going to be.
We can come
yeah,
up with
and
the hashtag.
internationally, I just want to repeat. I know it's an Iranian, and again, we are in an extreme. We are an extreme example because we have a cinema, we have good filmmakers, and it's Iran and this dictatorship and all these events and murders and but there are too many other people out there. They have the same problem and they are like us. We have to find each other.
So thank you, Simone. Thank you, Zara. Thank you, Mehshid.
Thank you, everyone.